You are on Tips and Streams with your host, Coca.
What's good, everyone? Welcome back to Tips and Streams. I'm Kokan, and I hope you're doing well and feeling locked in wherever you're listening from. All right, let's get to the daily picks. I've got 4 NBA matchups on the card today, so buckle up. We're diving straight into the action. The first prediction is for the game between Brooklyn Nets and Chicago Bulls. I've been around this league long enough to know when a box score lies and when the eye test tells the real story. And for me, this Bulls-Nets rematch is one of those spots where context matters more than recent results. Yes, Brooklyn walked away with the win on Friday. Yes, they've already beaten Chicago twice this season. But when I break this game down possession by possession, rotation by rotation, the setup strongly favors the home team this time around. That last meeting wasn't a clean win. Brooklyn jumped out early, rode a huge second quarter, and then spent the rest of the night trying to survive. Chicago flipped the switch late, cranked up the pressure, and flat out owned the fourth quarter. They didn't finish the comeback, but they exposed something important. This Nets roster doesn't close games well when things get physical and the floor shrinks. Now add the most important variable. Brooklyn walks into Chicago without their offensive engine. Michael Porter Jr. being out completely changes how the Nets operate. Without his shot making and gravity, their half-court offense becomes predictable, slower, and much easier to load up against. Jordi Fernandez is a sharp mind, no doubt, but even the smartest clipboard in the league can't manufacture points out of thin air when the roster is thin. Chicago, on the other hand, is in a classic bounce-back position. They're at home, they've seen this opponent twice already, and they know exactly where the game slipped away last time. More importantly, Nikola Vucevic is playing grown man basketball right now. He's commanding space, punishing switches, and forcing defenses to collapse. That interior presence matters even more against a Brooklyn team that struggles on the glass and gives up second-chance opportunities. I also like the way the Bulls move the ball in this matchup. When Chicago is locked in, they play with pace, purpose, and trust. Even without Josh Giddey, the assist numbers stay healthy and the offense doesn't bog down into isolation basketball. At home, that rhythm usually shows up earlier and stays longer. Do I expect a walk in the park? No. Brooklyn competes, and they'll scrap. But over 48 minutes, I trust Chicago's physicality, rebounding edge, and half-court execution to separate. This feels like one of those games where the score stays tight early, and then the Bulls slowly lean on the Nets until the gap opens. I'm riding with the Bulls to win this game and cover the 5-point spread. If Chicago gets the outright win the way I expect, the cover comes naturally with it. I'm laying the points with confidence, backing the home floor, and trusting the veteran presence inside. My money is on the Bulls, and I'm booking it without hesitation. Today's second prediction is for the game between the Orlando Magic and Memphis Grizzlies. When I break this game down from top to bottom, I don't see it as just another regular season matchup. I see a neutral court chess match in London, loaded with context, pressure, and very real motivation on one side of the floor. Let me start with the obvious. Memphis already let one slip in Europe. They controlled stretches, jumped out early, and still walked away empty-handed. For a team searching for identity, that kind of loss sits heavy. And now, with the lights on and the whole league watching, I expect a response. This game changes the moment Ja Morant steps back onto the floor. I know the numbers haven't loved him this season, and I know the noise around his future has been loud, but this is exactly why I'm interested. When a superstar feels his status being questioned, that's when the edge comes back. I'm not looking for perfect efficiency here. I'm looking for intent, pace control, rim pressure, and leadership. When Ja plays with something to prove, Memphis plays faster, looser, and more confident. Jaren Jackson Jr. remains the backbone. He was dominant in the first meeting, and his ability to stretch the floor while protecting the paint keeps Memphis competitive even when things get messy. On a neutral court where rhythm can come and go, having a big who can score without plays being drawn up matters. What really tilts this matchup for me, though, is Orlando's situation. Losing Jalen Suggs strips this team of its perimeter heartbeat. He's the guy who sets the defensive tone, organizes traffic, and takes pressure off the ball handlers. Without him, Orlando becomes far more methodical, and against a Memphis team that thrives in broken possessions, that's dangerous. Yes, Orlando has talent. Paolo Banchero can take over stretches. Franz Wagner is back and fighting his legs, and they're excellent at getting to the free throw line. But this isn't a home game. There's no crowd edge, no comfort zone, and no guarantee that the same comeback script plays out twice. I also factor in the mental side. Beating the same opponent twice in a short span on neutral ground is never easy. Adjustments happen, pride kicks in, and Memphis has already shown they can build leads against this group. From my perspective, this isn't about who wins outright, it's about margin. I see a tighter, more physical game, with Memphis staying connected possession by possession. The absence of Orlando's primary defensive catalyst matters, and the urgency on Memphis' side matters even more. So here's where I land. My money is on the Memphis Grizzlies to cover the 5-point spread in London. I'm riding with the desperation, the response factor, and the belief that Ja Morant shows up to protect his name and his future. This is one of my strongest positions on the board today, and I'm confident in it. The third prediction for today is for the game between the Portland Trail Blazers and Sacramento Kings. When I break down this matchup between Portland and Sacramento, I immediately see a game where the betting market is telling one story, but the basketball itself is telling another. And in spots like this, I always trust the floor, not the noise. Yes, I'm fully aware of the obstacles Portland is dealing with here. This is a brutal scheduling spot. Second night of a back-to-back, tired legs, hostile building, and a key piece like Denny Avdija not available. On paper, this looks like a perfect setup for the home team. That's exactly why the line feels inflated to me. When I watch Portland, I don't see a fragile team that folds under pressure. I see a roster that plays with pace, confidence, and physical intent. Even without Avdija, this group still has multiple shot creators, strong rebounding presence, and enough length to disrupt passing lanes. They don't rely on one player to generate offense. They attack in waves, they crash the glass, and they're comfortable playing through contact. Sacramento, on the other hand, is clearly riding momentum. I won't deny that. The Kings have stacked a few solid wins. Their defense has shown unexpected life, and playing at home has given them a noticeable energy boost. But I've been watching this league long enough to know when a short hot stretch is being overvalued. Sacramento's season-long profile hasn't suddenly disappeared. Defensive consistency has been a problem all year, and their margin for error remains thin when the game slows down. What really stands out to me is how odds makers have positioned this game, making Sacramento the clear favorite against a deeper, more versatile Portland roster feels disconnected from the on-court reality. Either there's an overreaction to the schedule spot, or the line is simply shading public perception. From a pure basketball standpoint, I don't see a gap wide enough to justify this number. Portland's ability to compete on the road, even in fatigue spots, has been one of their most underrated traits. They rebound, they protect the rim, and they stay aggressive offensively even when their legs aren't fresh. That matters in a game that's likely to tighten late. I'm not chasing trends. I'm not buying into narratives. I'm looking at roster balance, matchup dynamics, and line value. I'm taking the Portland Trail Blazers to cover the 4-point spread. I'm grabbing the points, trusting the deeper team, and riding with the underdog. This number is too generous, and I'm comfortable putting my money behind Portland in this spot. Lock it in. Today's last prediction is for the game between the Hornets and Nuggets. When I break this game down from top to bottom, I don't see the usual Denver home court script playing out the way most people expect. I see a spot where perception and reality are drifting apart, and that's where value lives. Yes, Denver has been stacking wins lately, but I'm looking deeper than the scoreboard. This Nuggets team is navigating heavy rotation stress, thin depth, and another night of managing bodies. Even when they grind out wins, it hasn't been clean basketball for 4 quarters. They're leaning heavily on shot-making bursts, not consistent control. That matters when you're facing a young team that thrives on chaos. Charlotte, for all their inconsistency, walks into this game with one thing I respect: offensive fearlessness. When they get downhill early, they don't hesitate. They push pace, attack mismatches, and keep pressure on the rim. I've watched them respond well in these underdog spots, especially when the other side is juggling fatigue and lineups. What really swings me toward Buzz City is how this matchup shapes up stylistically. Denver wants to slow the game and execute late. Charlotte wants to speed it up before the defense is set. In these situations, I trust the team that dictates tempo early, and lately, Charlotte has been doing exactly that. When they get comfortable, their confidence snowballs fast. I'm also factoring in how Denver has looked in these compressed scheduling spots at home. They haven't consistently separated. Games stay closer than expected, and that opens the door for a live dog with nothing to lose. Now, let me be crystal clear and put my money where my mouth is. My prediction is the Hornets to cover the 3.5-point spread in Denver. This isn't a nervous lean for me. This is a confident ride. I'm not just taking the points. I'm calling for the outright win. Charlotte has the legs, the pace, and the freedom to flip this game early. And if you want to press the edge like I am, I'm also backing the Hornets to cover the first half line. I truly believe they come out swinging and never look back. From my seat, this one doesn't crawl, it breaks open. I'm riding with Buzz City.